Hey guys, Aaron here. Now, you're probably used to hearing me stick my ad in here for horribledesigns.com. And in my general need to try and improve things and keep things fresh and topical, it's time for a new ad for horribledesigns.com. So here it is. Go to horribledesigns.com, get t-shirts, get mugs, get stickers, get mouse pads, get stuff, get swag with a bunch of humorous things on it, pictures, commentary, little thoughts and ideas. And for being a loyal listener of the show, you can get 15% off your total purchase price by using the code I had to say it at checkout. And that's all one word. I had to say it. Only available at horribledesigns.com. The podcast you are about to listen to contains at least one of the following: strong language, disturbing topics, abusive opinions, generally things that aren't appropriate for little kids or overly sensitive people. So, if any of that stuff's going to get your nose out of joint, this is your chance to turn it off.
What's going on, everybody? It's your boy, the head advocate of the Big Titty Committee of 69 Whiskey.
Did somebody say titties?
And the undercover brother of the Bro Migos podcast, Matt here. And it's time for my homeboy, Chef Aaron, to cook up another great episode of the I Had to Say It podcast.
Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of I Had to Say It. So we're going to start this out as we do. Josh, Jake, B-Word, Iceman, Jason, Miss Aaron, Mike, Tabby, and Javier. Thank you guys so much for the constant support. You are all very important to me, and I appreciate you every day. So this one's going to be fairly U.S.-centric, so I apologize to my non-United States listeners. But this is the shit that's been going on in my world, so this is the shit you get to hear about. As of the time of this recording, the White House has announced, through both conventional media sources and through their social media arm on the various social media platforms, that they have reached a compromise with Senator McCarthy and his team regarding the debt ceiling in the United States. And basically, the long and the short of it is they're going to put forth a proposition to put the debt ceiling more or less to be tabled until 2025, which means Sleepy Joe's going to get the rest of his presidency to continue to run shit into the ground and fuck up. Yeah, for lack of a better way of putting it. And they're trying to say that there were compromises made, and the White House has made statements of, oh, well, compromise means neither side gets exactly what they want. And basically the compromise was the debt ceiling, the debt is still going to climb. The U.S. debt is still going to grow and compound and become worse. And we are going to continue to be in a position where we basically can't even really afford to pay the principal or the interest on the principal, and the principal is going to remain untouched. Well, they're continuing reckless, out-of-control spending. The only difference is they're spending at a slower pace under this proposition. They're still increasing the deficit basically every day. They more or less issued a statement saying that, well, we came to an agreement on this, and now it's up to the House and the Senate to pass this proposition. And so if it doesn't pass, it's on them, and it's their fault, because we did good. We came to a compromise, which their compromise really wasn't much of anything other than a lot of political grandstanding on both sides. And then like, oh, look, see, we did do this compromise. They're still growing the national debt. They're not doing any real significant budgetary cuts. They're still increasing military spending. They're still increasing deficit spending. I believe the military-industrial complex is getting an additional 3% or 5%. I forget which it is. And there were a couple other, Homeland Security and all these other things. They're all still getting more money. So they really didn't actually do anything in terms of responsible spending or cutting any real costs. They're still growing the deficit. They're just growing it at a slightly slower pace, and the Republicans are going to try and wave that like it's some massive fucking win, and the Democrats are trying to point to it like it's some huge compromise, and they had to give up so much to pacify these completely unreasonable conservatives. Meanwhile, they're still just rampant out-of-control spending coming out of Washington, which is further devaluing, the average working person's life. So it got me thinking, though, in the build-up to this week, and their timing is they do it right before a federal holiday weekend, so there's 3 days where they're not going to do shit about it. You're not going to hear anything about it probably till Wednesday or Thursday. the beat goes on. It's the same old shit. And what I've really been thinking about is in the weeks leading up to this, where they've been talking, default, oh my God. And the White House has been on their bullshit of, it's a historic first ever default on the American government's part, which is also utter horseshit. They've defaulted at least 4 times that I can think of off the top of my head in the past. I think that's the current number is 4 times. And it's not the end of the world. It's really not a bad thing. But it's the same old bullshit. Every time these assholes start harping on about why that we need to raise the debt ceiling. Now, this may sound really weird to some of the younger listeners, that apparently I do have some younger listeners. There was a time when the government actually passed balanced budgets. There was a time when the national debt was only a couple $2 billion, which is still a metric fuck ton of money, but compared to the scale of where we're at right now is nothing. I mean, it was less than we've sent to the Ukraine in the last 9 months. So that's just, for a matter of perspective. But every time the topic of the debt ceiling comes up, both sides like to basically do the same shit, talking about how it's going to jeopardize X, Y, and Z benefits for, common people. They're going to have to make slashes to Social Security. You're not going to be able to get, your federal services. The vets are all going to have to suffer. You know what they never talk about? People having to suffer, things that are going to get slashed. They never talk about slashing services to government agencies. They never talk about slashing services to, politicians' paychecks. None of these assholes really have a dog in the fight because they're not going to lose anything. They still make sure they are taken care of regardless of where things go. And with the compromise they made, they're not actually stopping anything. They're not doing anything to actually address the massive deficit problem we have. What they are doing is saying, well, we're going to be able to keep buying shit and spend the money we don't have. We've just agreed to make the amount of money we're not, that we don't have, that we're spending more. They upped their own credit line. It's fucking completely irresponsible. It's a prime example of what happens when there's no accountability. There is no consequence for these assholes to do this shit. They just keep doing it. And they don't feel any crunch of it. They don't feel any pain of it because it doesn't impact them directly. They still get their salaries. They still get their benefits. They still get their armed guards. They still get everything that they shouldn't have because they don't deserve it. They haven't done anything to earn it. And they want to fearmonger and stump around blaming, this is going to hurt all you common people if this doesn't happen. If we're not allowed to continue to recklessly spend money we don't have, you guys are going to suffer because that's going to cause us to cut the benefits to you guys. Not to cut their military spending, not to cut their own personal perks and benefits, not to cut their own food, their own safety, their own shelter. They literally stand to lose nothing in the event of any of this shit going sideways, whether it be to default on all the current existing debt or to fail to raise the debt ceiling so they can't spend more money we don't have. That's the conversation they never have. The debt ceiling is not about maintaining any status quo. It's about additional spending. That's what the ceiling part comes in. That's where instead of paying the bills they already have, they're incurring more debt. I saw an analogy of it where it is they're taking out a second mortgage on the house, but they're not going to buy the bass boat until September. Well, they're still spending more money they don't have and incurring more fucking debt. It's a really a no-brainer. Anybody with a basic concept of how to run a household understands why this is a bad fucking idea. Meanwhile, these six-figure making assholes in Washington who don't actually contribute anything of any real worth to society these days can't seem to wrap their heads around the concepts. They're too busy grandstanding and trying to maintain office so they can maintain their privilege and their power to understand basic concepts like only spending what you fucking earn. And then they go out there and both sides do the same shit. They point fingers, they throw blame, and they try and tell us that it's not their fault that they are incapable of doing their fucking jobs. And it's just very enervating to me, particularly because we are going into Memorial Day weekend, and it is an utterly just slap in the face that they do this shit, and they do it now, and they do it deliberately, And I guarantee every single one of them had a lovely Memorial Day weekend not thinking about this shit at all. Because I know at the end of the day, it's still not going to really impact their quality of life, regardless of how the chips fall. But yeah, they made the announcement, oh, we've come to a compromise deal. They're still going to spend more money than they have. They're still going to go further into debt. They're just going to do it slowly, and that's supposed to be a win. It's fucking pathetic. And speaking of their timetable, something else that's been kind of on my mind, and it's, if you go out and you look at the U.S. debt clock, it'll show you the current amount of debt. And it's a clock. It literally just keeps running and running and running. And we're running up more debt per individual. And, let's see, with the current national debt is 31.5 trillion, give or take, ballpark. That means for the population of America being 300 and some odd million, that's like $95,000 per citizen of debt held by the U.S. government right now. Just something to think about. That's where we stand like right now. And those are just, spitball ballpark numbers. So around $95,000 a year per current adult citizen of the United States. That's more than a lot of us make in a year. And that's not going to go down with the way the policy is going. Just, again, food for thought, something to think about. And we're going to take a little break. I'm going to stick in a spot for another show in here, and then I'm going to come back and talk about something else that's on my mind.
Hey, what's up, guys? I'm Mike.
I'm Tabby.
And we're the Grace Taproom Podcast. Be sure to check out our link tree at linktr.ee/Grace Taproom Podcast 2.
There you can find our partnership with Hollowed Sense, buy us a coffee because we definitely need it, all of our socials, listening platforms, and our merch store.
And if you love our show enough, please feel free to subscribe to our Patreon. We have 3 amazing tiers starting from $3, $5, and $10 with a bunch of great content all over the place.
Thanks for listening, guys. Don't text and drive, don't drink and drive. Always drink responsibly.
You heard her. Do it.
Taproom closed.
All right, so thanks for listening to that. Now, the other thing I was thinking about with Memorial Day weekend coming up, and I'm just going to do this one real briefly. A lot of people kind of ignorant of things. Another symptom of the U.S. educational system, the current societal way of looking at things. Something that you'll hear and see going on a lot when Memorial Day rolls around is people saying they thank vets for their service and things like that. And I know some vets that are very much like, don't thank me for my service on Memorial Day. Memorial Day is not intended as a day to thank veterans. That's what Veterans Day is for. Memorial Day is a day to remember the sacrifice of soldiers who fell in battle. And every politician out there is going to use this as a chance to either push an agenda, grandstand, make some sort of big to-do saying, like, look how pious I am and how much I appreciate the vets. And There are going to be politicians that are saying that. The vets, not the departed, not the people who died in the service of their country. And they're going to use it to push their side, regardless of where you stand on the political spectrum. Both sides are guilty of it. Both sides are going to do it. They're going to say, like, look how patriotic we are. Look how much we support our soldiers and the people, the men and women who died in the service of their country, and how much we appreciate their sacrifice. If that was true, if they actually appreciated the people that are servicing this country and the people that died in the name of this country, following orders that were, as often as not, put in place by these assholes that are doing so with no jeopardy to their own life and limb, if they actually respected them and wanted to honor their memories, they wouldn't be sending our young men and women all over the globe to fucking die, to push their agendas, to support their things. They would not be pushing the narrative that if you support withdrawing troops from foreign countries, that you somehow don't support the soldiers. These men and women did not die so we could continue to meddle in the affairs of other countries. The ones that died supporting an ideal, supporting the ideals of the United States, they are very, few and far between. Most of the soldiers that died in the service of this country died interfering in other shit. If you want to support the soldiers, you want to support the troops, you want to honor the memories of the fallen, you shouldn't be using their deaths to push your agenda and to try and make yourself seem like something other than what you are, particularly the ones that never served themselves, the ones that were purely behind the push, the ones who were saying, yes, we need to go intervene in X country and we need to go bring democracy to Y country. They're jeopardizing American lives for the sake of pushing an agenda. That's really all it is. It is an extremely, to me at least, distasteful way of looking at things to say we want to honor these soldiers, but at the same time, they're not honoring the ones that are alive. They're not doing what is in the soldiers' best interest. It's not unpatriotic to question the military's involvement in other countries, because it's not our job to police the world. It's not our responsibility to make sure everyone is living according to our lifestyle and our choices. And that's one of those things that has built up a lot of animosity towards the U.S. around the globe. If you really want to honor the memories of the fallen people, and a lot of us have family members that we lost that were in the service. You know, some of us have lost parents, some of us have lost siblings, some of us have lost children in military service. And it's, to the people who have lost that, you have my condolences, you have my sympathies. To honor the memory of the fallen is... It's not a bad thing. It's a noble thing to honor the people who fell in the service of their country. But to use that as some sort of grandstand to try and draw attention to how pious and how great you are for supporting these troops, and if you do it with a lot of grandstanding and making a point of everybody look at me, it's really hard to see it as an authentic thing. So, yeah, that's kind of where I'm going to wrap this up. Have my own holiday weekend things to attend to. I hope you all had a lovely weekend now that this will be coming out after the weekend's over. I hope everyone's doing well. And for now, that's what I had to say. Thanks for listening to another episode, guys. If you liked what you heard, leave a comment, leave a review, leave a rating. Go to ihadtosayitpodcast.com, sign up for the mailing list, interact with the show. Click the links, sign up for the Patreon, join the Discord, come and interact, be a part of the show. Buy the merch, support your favorite creator, or support me. Anyway, thanks for listening, guys. Till next time.